I've been thinking about this. You know that Reggie Fils-Aimé quote of, if the game's not fun, why bother? You know?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah? What's the exception to that?
I just think that's reduction. Like, that's a reductionist view on video games. Like, does a game have to be fun? I don't think so.
Example.
Death Stranding.
So it comes out. You're finally admitting what the truth of that game is, which that it sucks.
Well, here's the thing. We don't do, as a culture and how we talk about games, we don't do a good job of distinguishing the difference between fun and entertaining. Those are two different words, and they have two different definitions for a reason, right? Entertaining may not be fun, and fun usually is, but may not be entertaining, right? Like, what's a good example of it? I guess, like, my example would be, like, if you play a game for too long, like, you know the game is still fun. You know you're still having fun with the game, but you get bored with the fun. You know what I'm saying?
Not really, because those are, like, definitionally the exact same. And word-wise, they're the exact same. They're just, like, one's a more...
So
like,
I'll use
expressive way to say
Borderlands is the example for me.
Okay.
Borderlands is fun and entertaining for probably about the first 20 hours. And then after that 20-hour mark, I just get kind of bored with the gameplay loop. It stops becoming entertaining. Entertaining is when I am engaged with it. I'm into it. I'm wanting to keep going, to progress,
Well,
right?
I think
but
that,
like, even though I know the game loop is fun, I know the gameplay is fun, it's just eventually like I just become disengaged with it.
Well, I still wouldn't differentiate between fun and entertaining. I would differentiate between fun and engaging. Like,
see, I think engaging and entertaining are closer tied together than fun is to either of those two.
Yeah, I just can't seem to get my head around that. Just because, like, for example,
but you understand how something can be entertaining, but it's not fun.
Not really, because those words are, like, entertaining just seems like a more expressive way to say fun rather than an entirely different word. My backing is the dictionary I just looked up.
Right. Well, The Last of Us is not necessarily fun, but it's entertaining.
See, that's why I would use the word engaging more than entertaining.
Let's jump out of the world of video games for a minute. Nosferatu is not fun, but it's entertaining.
See, I think at that point it's like, that's a different space, because video games have an element of interactivity. You know, movies, all you have to do, regardless of whether it's fun or whatever, you just have to sit there and look at it. And you can engage with it and think about it while you're going. Be like, okay, what's this character's motivation? And, you know, what are the themes of this? And where's a twist going? Is there a twist that's being angled here? Versus fun, you're just like watching it and just enjoying the immediate thing you're getting on screen. And you're like Marvel movies, for example. They're not engaging, but they're fun. You know, they're just like you. That's why there's certain movies you just kind of put on in the background, because no one's going to really focus on it, but you can look over to it and at least be entertained.
Entertaining, definitions from Oxford Languages. This is a quick Google, which I hate Googling definitions because, like, words are deeper than an Oxford dictionary definition sometimes, but it is what it is. Providing amusement or enjoyment. Entertain, provide someone with amusement or enjoyment. Receive someone as a blah, 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 blah. Give attention or consideration to. I guess that's it. Like, and that's my thing with, like, engaging is, like, it's something you're giving your attention to, right? So, like,
I would say,
I guess, like, you could, like, woodworking. Like, you could find woodworking fun. That's something you could find fun, right? But I think everyone, if they care about the project that they're on, they're going to find woodworking entertaining. But you may not find it fun. I don't necessarily find woodworking fun, but there are times where I'm engaged in it and I find it entertaining.
I guess a parallel to that is, since picking up Warhammer, I've done a little bit of painting, and it's not something that I think of doing. But when I do it, it's fun. My issue, though, is getting to it in the first place, because I'm like, well, you know, I'm going to have to, like, sit there, be super specific with the detail.
Yeah.
You know, it takes up a good amount of time as well.
Yeah.
It's harder to just pick it up and then stop whenever you want, because you use the paint. You don't want to just, you know, leave some in there to dry out and waste.
Yeah, it's wasted
Exactly,
supply.
yeah.
Right. I guess, like, entertaining is, like, something that, like, takes my attention and like passes time, but like not in a way of like I'm just killing time or I'm bored or anything like that, but like I'm passing time. Whereas like fun is just like a feeling. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I still just can't get my head around that, especially because, again, to go to my own experiences, going to journalism school and then writing things, you don't want to just use the word fun over and over and over again. And so words like entertaining, amusing, those things become things just you can like use to freshen up the language, not just say the same exact thing over and over and over again. And that's more the purpose of those words.
Enhancers.
Yeah, sentence enhancers. Whereas that's just where I differentiate those entertainment and fun not being separate words that are used in entirely different settings.
Yeah, I get that like not adjectives, synonyms exist, right?
Yeah.
I understand that, but you have different words for different purposes. You know, there's a reason we have one word for ice, and what are they called? People who live in snowy, icy areas. What are they called?
Inuit.
Is that like an acceptable?
That's an ethnic group.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you're thinking Eskimos, that is not the.
Yeah, that's not what I was thinking. That's not what I was thinking. Inuit people have like 30 words for ice and we have one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. Like there's a reason they developed 30 different words for these things, and we developed one word, right? I think entertainment and fun are two different words for a reason.
What else besides ice do Inuit people? Snow?
Something like that.
Maybe some trees?
They see a lot of stuff. No?
Yeah, I guess those areas defrost and don't stay frozen all the time.
You know, I mean, they probably like when ice gets sloshy and it's not, like it's
different word for ice.
There's a different word, you know, like whereas we just apply an adjective to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's where languages get very different.
Yeah.
I had an original point.
Language sucks.
It's fun.
But back to my original inquiry. I don't think video games need to be fun.
Yeah, that was the original point.
I think some of the best games of all time are not fun.
That's where it comes into play, where I think that definitively makes a game not one of the best of all time if it can't be both. Because nothing's really stopping you from being both. I mean, like Last of Us Part 2, for example.
Yeah.
It's engaging. It is the entire way through.
Yeah.
I'm not hot on it like other people are for reasons, but it's not because some people might say, well, the writing's bad, it sucks.
No, the writing's very good.
Inarticulate or confusing, whatever people would criticize that for. But my original point is lost on me. But it's like,
well, that gameplay can be fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's fun, but the way the game is structured makes it to a point where
in context of the game, it's not fun. But there's a reason in the remaster they added the whatever the fucking mode is that they have where you're just playing the roguelite mode that they added in the Last of Us Part 2 remaster. Remember this? You don't remember this?
No.
They added a roguelite mode where you can play as different characters. They have different abilities and gear and equipment and stuff.
I never heard of this.
Yeah,
before.
it's pretty cool. People like it from what I hear. Yeah, they added like a whole mode.
I feel like I would see the characters being controlled, like the different characters being controlled.
Yeah, so like you can play. I think they just recently added 2 more characters. I think they added like Bill or something
really?
from part 1. Yeah. So yeah, like you can play as like Ellie or Abby or Joel. I think Tommy's playable or something.
Definitely plays Tommy.
Yeah, something like that, right? And then they all have different loadouts and stuff like that. So like that gameplay is fun. But in the context of the actual narrative and story, it's not so much fun. I mean, it's fun in moments, fighting. I think fighting the Rat King was fun, personally.
Yes, yeah, that was.
But like at the same time, like Silent Hill 2, I don't think that game is fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's great. I think it's one of the greatest survival horror games of all time.
I think that's actually a very good comparison to Last of Us Part 2, where at a certain point I'm like, okay, the gameplay's worn itself out.
Right, but Silent Hill 2 never had that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was never a point where I thought Silent Hill 2 gameplay was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see.
But it's still awesome. You should still play it if you haven't played it.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who they don't like horror games at all because they don't find it fun. I don't necessarily find it fun either, but it's entertaining. Like to be scared is entertaining to me.
Yeah,
But
then again, that's also very, as you just kind of mentioned, subjective. Some people just don't. They just get the fear and none of the enjoyment out of that fear. It's and to tie it back to my Last of Us point, because I remembered the gameplay was structured in a way where it became not fun. I like the basic raw gameplay of Last of Us, but I vividly remember at that point very few gameplay segments jump out to me because most of it's just like monotonous, same exact kind of like scenarios over and over and over again for 20-hour periods in between those narrative beats. Whereas, and this goes back into my my main criticism, which is length. Whereas Last of Us, the first one, you never get to that point. It would have happened eventually. Even as much as I, am more engaged.
It happened in part 2.
Yeah, as much as I'm more engaged with like Joel and Ellie and their dynamic, the gameplay had a big part in me liking that game more, just because it never had a drop off.
Do you think it's because in part 2 they reset you mechanically? Do you think that might be part of it?
Not even really, because with Abby's part, that's where the game has like a boost of being fun again. Because part of what I say makes Last of Us 1 fun, right, is it's the melding of gameplay and story. Because Ellie and Joel, they're constantly riffing, they're constantly saying something, or they're constantly having problems or improving their relationship.
They're pushing this relationship forward at all times,
And a lot of that doesn't happen in Last of Us Part 2, because a lot of times it's Ellie being alone. Even Abby goes alone a lot, but even then, Abby was more based around having a companion in the form of
Lev.
Yeah, and that was interesting. And he was a new character. They weren't as interesting as Joel, but it was, something new, and it was someone to talk to and riff on. Ellie, when she...
Well, even Abby's parts even allow you to reflect on Joel's parts.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because Abby's story in part 2 reflects Joel's story in part 1. So it allows you to sort of look back and go, oh, this is... Like, it gives you another insight into how Joel was feeling, and because you saw Abby's darkness, you didn't see Joel's darkness.
No, you just hear about it.
You hear about it, right? And you put it together, oh, man, you were a piece of shit, right? I think Joel goes way further than Abby ever did, but like...
He was a bandit.
Huh?
He was a bandit.
Oh, yeah. He killed innocent people,
Yeah.
right? And like, Abby kind of didn't kill innocent people, like, for the most part. And so, like, it sort of allows you to go, oh, I think it expands on Joel's character because of all of the cycles and reflections and all.
Yeah.
You're not watching season 2 of The Last of Us, by the way.
I'm going to watch it, yeah.
You're going to? Are you waiting for it to get out, or you just haven't made the time for it
watch
yet?
it at some point.
Yeah, okay.
I've been watching a lot of anime recently, because I haven't watched it in a while.
I do intend, when the season is done, I do intend for us to review it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, honestly, that's probably the core reason why I am watching it. Now, as I've said before, I'm kind of lower on Last of Us Part 2 than I think a lot of other people in this kind of space, certainly more than you.
Do you think it being an adaptation maybe because you remind me of your feelings on season 1. I believe season 1 is like right there with the game.
Oh, definitively, I would say not. I found the relationship between Joel and Ellie very surface level comparative to... Because it's just basing entirely off of what made Last of Us 1 good, but without the parts in between, with those gameplay segments.
Oh, but they added so many great scenes.
With, like, Bill, yeah, but that's like...
No, they added, like, a lot of different scenes between Joel and Ellie that weren't in the game.
See, just, like, none of them, like, stuck with me. Like, it was a game that I watched. It was a good show, but I just, like, ignored it.
Forgotten. You might, I'm not going to say you need to go back, because it's, you do what you do with what you will with your time, but,
Yeah, I mean... I guess this gets to a broader conversation of why I think video games as a storytelling medium makes, overall, to me, better characters than things like film and television. It's the interactivity of playing gameplay that's combined, especially in the case of Last of Us, with dialogue, with character progression and story. And so it's not just... With TV shows, at a certain point, they're my least favorite form of entertainment medium.
Oh, really?
Oh, definitively. Because at some point, I'm just like... I'm having to spend 8 hours watching this, really almost sometimes dragged out plot.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. TV is like not. I don't love TV.
Yeah, and film would have the same problem if they weren't just like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
or
they're just more focused.
Exactly. Yeah.